Okay, it's 1 o'clock. We'll get started. Let me just this. Coach, if you just want to start with an opening statement, and then we'll open up to questions. So everybody use the raise your hand on using Zoom.
Yeah, kick things off this week. Today's always an exciting day, the first day of classes as well. So we've had pretty productive 2.5 weeks of preseason with the group together. Learned some good lessons along the way and had some good performances and yeah, really excited to see how this group continues to evolve and we're going to learn a lot pretty quickly. We have an incredible non-conference schedule this year. A lot of ranked teams and a lot of teams that plan to be ranked as well, with Charlotte certainly being one of them. So we have a team that's very familiar with making deep runs in the NCAA tournament. I think 11 of the last 14 years they've made the NCAA tournament. We're very aware that we have a number next to our name and they don't, and that'll be something that I'm sure they'll give extra motivation for. So yeah, we're going to get off to a good start here, hopefully with a really good non-conference road game.
Nick, we'll start with you.
Yeah, for always a pleasure. Good to see you. Um, your assessment of your recent scrimmages and what are the challenges that you faced with a short preseason? I know that's nothing new in college soccer, but you do have a significant number of newcomers. I think more than half your roster is new this year. So, what challenges have you faced in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of positives, and then I think the Georgetown trip was insightful, a little humbling as well. We played a very good Georgetown team, I have to say. Deserving of their preseason ranking in the top five. We lost that game, and learned a little bit more about the group, and were stress tested in a way that is necessary when you have a new group, as you said, with as many new players as there are within the squad. So I'm grateful for that exposure. I thought we performed very well against Pittsburgh. We're clearly the stronger team with respect to what they showed on the day, at least, and was really pleased. Encouraging signs. Obviously, sticky situation with the West Virginia Tech game, pun intended. It would have been nice to get that game and learn a little bit more, as much as we tried to recreate a scrimmage and kind of have an inter-squad game. It's just simply not the same. So kind of lost an opportunity there to some extent to learn even more about the group. And then, as I said, the Georgetown game was good for us to have that experience and to go through some of the challenges and as I said, be stress tested against a top five team. I'd love another opportunity for sure. So that was kind of the encouragement, but it revealed some things that we needed to improve and work on, and that's certainly where we spent our time since. The challenges have been not just with a lot of new players. So I think there's been an assessment process where we've been very careful not to fully commit to one particular formation or system just yet, as we get to know the players and determine, where the pecking order falls and who our best 11 might be, or something close to that best 11. That's a process. And then sadly, that's been inhibited with some injuries through preseason as well. Obviously, we have the long-term injuries of Mark Chust, of Thijs Veldhorst. But sadly, we woke up on Saturday morning after playing Georgetown with 12 injury concerns. And when you have a squad of 28, that definitely has an impact on things. So I'm happy to say most of the group have kind of got to a place where I think they can offer and contribute for Charlotte. But we're definitely dealing with an injury crisis that I've never experienced before in my life, which means that other players will need to be ready to step up, and again, with a really tough non-conference ahead of us, we'll need to be creative, perhaps with some solutions to some of those deficits within the group.
Justin, we'll go to you.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, I'm kind of wondering about the Pablo. He obviously gets named, Sunbelt
Mhm.
preseason player of the year. Obviously, high expectations for him, but how much different will it be for him not having, Marcus out there kind of running around as his running mate?
Yeah. I think Marcus was responsible for a number of assists for Pablo last year, especially early on in the season as well. So I do think that's something we need to be mindful of. I think the nature of Marcus's playing style drew a lot of attention and allowed Pablo to do what he does best, which
Yeah.
is arrive on the ball for the final finish and the final action. We have every intention of utilizing Pablo in a very similar fashion. I think part of what where we've evolved as a team. I think in the wide areas we're stronger this year, and stronger in depth in the wide areas than we were a year ago. I think there's a really nice attacking depth that we have available to us when everyone is fit. So I don't think it will be through any lack of service, but certainly some different personnel and maybe from some slightly different positions in terms of how he's being provided his opportunities this year.
And then obviously next year the season splits into two different semesters. Uh, can you kind of just talk about the advantages and disadvantages to having the season split like that?
Yeah, so just to clarify, that's still kind of in process. That'll be
Okay.
a final vote, we think, in October, that the Division One cabinet will determine whether or not that will pass. The advantages, I think, it goes without saying, a national championship and postseason in mid to late April, extending into May, is a fantastic time of year. It aligns with professional soccer in every country, including this one now, with what the MLS have done with their rule changes of their calendar. So it aligns, and there's greater comparisons perhaps to college soccer to the rest of the world and the rest of the sport in the world. And I think that's an advantage, just because college soccer kind of had this position that was so unique and so different to how it aligns with the rest of the world, that I think it was maybe too far, outside, too far on left field. So I do think that's a significant advantage. I do think there are opportunities to reduce the amount of class time that the players miss, potentially play more games on the weekend, and slightly improve the calendar in terms of how we space out games. The disadvantages specific to West Virginia are our capacity to do that, simply because of when the spring would look to start. So how we all negotiate January, February, March will be very, very different for us as it would be to UCF, for
Right.
example. So we need to be considerate and strategic on making sure that some of those inhibiting factors in the beginning of the spring aren't to the detriment of the team's overall performance and our capacity to compete. Ultimately, my feeling was that wouldn't be the case. I wouldn't have voted in favor of it if I didn't think it was good for West Virginia as well as college soccer. And I came to the conclusion that WVU can still be as competitive as it has been in recent years in this new model. Once I came to that determination, understanding some of the other benefits, it was an easy yes and an easy thing for me to support. And I feel very, very grateful and appreciative that I've had the support of Natasha and Ren along the way. And that from an administrative perspective, they've been in support of kind of my feelings towards this and decision to support it.
I guess the concern would be during the winter, during the break, where would you practice? Where would you work out? That kind of thing when there's, 4 feet of snow out there on the ground. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen 4 feet of snow in my 22 years, to be fair, Justin. So try not to dramatize things too much.
sorry.
The indoor facility is where we train right now. So
Okay.
we're very grateful for football's capacity to work with all of the Olympic sports, not just ourselves, women's soccer and baseball. We kind of share that space. So again, there is a capacity for us still to get good work in. I think we
Okay.
would be more actively looking for opportunities to be outside more frequently. And then there are certain processes that we can do to protect the grass, whether we get covers for both the game field and the practice field, is something that we've already thought about and talked about and got pricing for. The What we'll look to do and want to do is be on the grass as soon as we possibly can. We understand that
Right.
there are challenges with the weather, and that you may get out there and then have to stay off it for a little period of time as well. So again, it's not without some challenges to us, and certainly to schools further north of us as well. I'll let them worry about what they need to do. I think at West Virginia specifically, we'll be able to manage that and negotiate that sufficiently in order to still remain very, very competitive.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Nick, we'll go back to you.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of the injuries to Tice and to Mark. Where do things stand with your back line in terms of health and in terms of returning starts? I mean, Tice was your biggest guy coming back along with Tristan. So is the expectation that there will just be a lot of newness, at least early in the season, with your back line?
Yeah, I think to some extent, we went into the Georgetown game, obviously, as you said, with no ties, without Mark, who at the time we signed him probably would have, my educated guess would he be really, really close to our starting 11, if not in there, and certainly would have been competing for one of those positions. Um, but then on top of that, we had an issue with Tristan after the Pittsburgh game, so he didn't play at all against Georgetown. Nacho Martinez didn't play at all against Georgetown. Juan Alvarez didn't play at all against Georgetown. So a lot of guys that were pretty mainstay features of our group last year were not available for the Georgetown game. Um, to compound matters, Chase Collins broke his nose in training yesterday. So we've definitely kind of been hit with the bug, and it's all been different things, and just it can happen. It's why we have as many as 28, in our case 30, with the two ACL issues not being registered as part of our 28-man roster. Thankfully, some of that is back available, we believe, and we'll play the game and feature in the game against Charlotte on Thursday. But there's a mix of new players, some that joined us in January, some that are brand new right now, that we've had to try and bring up to speed as quickly as we can.
Dan, if I can follow up really quickly, you said Chase, the goalkeeper, has broken his nose. Does that put him in jeopardy for the start of the season? And then what does your goalkeeper competition look like at this point?
Yeah, it's been interrupted, I would argue. We played, or we would have been going into the West Virginia Tech game specifically only with Chase. Kendall had kind of a re-aggravation of a shoulder issue. Toby had a re-aggravation of a groin issue. So they both missed what would have been the West Virginia Tech game. And then got to Georgetown with Chase back available, or excuse me, Chase still available, and Toby available. Still no Kendall. And then Chase broke his nose yesterday. It won't interrupt things. He just may look like Batman if he plays. So we have a 3D mask coming his way to kind of alleviate that, but he'll obviously be playing with that issue. I would say Kendall's probably a week or so away from being full go and truly being able to compete for the position again. So it's been a little stop start for them, Kendall in particular, just as far as having 2.5 weeks to assess what we think is a really, really good trio of goalkeepers and kind of stack them up against one another. Almost wouldn't be fair at this point just because of the inconsistencies of training patterns. So right now, we trained today with one goalkeeper. Chase didn't train today because of the issue yesterday. So right now we're just trying to get two fit goalkeepers would be good. Three would be amazing. We just may have to kind of, like I said, get a little creative and yeah, that one's one where you really do just have to cross your fingers and hope that there's no further issues for anyone else.
Cody, that's for over you.
Hey Dan, I was just wondering, Pablo kind of burst onto the scene right away last year. Is there any of the newcomers you think are kind of primed to do, game one really come out and make an impact for you?
I hope they all do. I hope they all do because there's a lot of new faces. But no, as I mentioned, we feel as though we've improved our depth in the wide areas. I think Braden Smith has come a long way in the space of time he's been with the program. Julian Raquelde will be competition in that left wing position. Julian coming from West Virginia Tech and scoring 16 goals in a team that made it to the NAIA National Championship game last year. Kanta Ishii on the opposite side, a junior college transfer from Cowley, similar goal scoring record to Julian at that respective level, has come in and really, really impressed and so fluent with the ball and just such a humble, gracious, grateful young man. And pair him with Lucas White, who again going through a little bit of an injury issue right now, but in what we have seen of him, which was the majority of preseason up to now, he's looked like he can impact things straight away. And as a true freshman coming out of kind of the Bethesda area, we've been really, really pleased with how much he has shown, and this kind of us forecasting that he'll help us as soon as he's fit again. So those winger positions, I think, are really, really interesting for us. You have the likes of Isaac Shear, Juan, once he's back fit as well. Tommy Bowe is another one that was with the program last year, probably didn't get the minutes, but has had a really, really good spring for us. And again, I think will play a significant role this year for us. So yeah, very, very happy with what we've seen once and when everyone is fit. And then on top of Pablo, obviously Sammy Walker, we have such a high ceiling for what Sammy is capable of. We're really excited by him. And then Joshua Duduk coming from a regional league level, Werder Bremen's under out of Germany. I think will give a little physical presence and looks like a good hold up number nine. But again, sadly, has been interrupted by injury in preseason.
Ryan, we'll go to you.
Dan, with the keeper situation, do you guys carry an emergency keeper, or do you start asking other players like, "Hey, did any of you guys play keeper like when you were 11 or something?" Like how does that work
We're
if
still
the bug
exploring whether,
continues to bite?
yeah, we're still exploring whether Nick Noble can get a fifth year of eligibility. Um, Not sure whether that's going to fly with a 41-year-old now, but he's still pretty good. But no, we got down to two at some point last year, and Bryce Swinehart was our third choice goalkeeper at that point. I think it was when Chase actually broke a wrist, I think it was, or a finger, excuse me. So that conversation may need to happen. I hope it doesn't need to happen just yet. But yeah, we'll have no choice. We'll have to go to an outfield player and give someone some preparation and training. And again, hopefully these are conversations that we don't need to have and will never need to have. But yeah, certainly when you go out to training and there's only one goalkeeper ready to go, it can be a little bit of a somber feeling for sure.
Joe, to you.
Dan, you mentioned Nick, and you've had Nick and Coach Wright on your staff for the full 7 years that you've been leading the program. How much does that continuity help you guys, and how much does that kind of led to the success of the program?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. You know, from this position, you need trust and loyalty, right? I need to know that they're going to echo the same sentiments that I will and support me in that regard. And it was so organic just because they're both great friends and were before I even arrived at the program. So that part I always felt really, really good about. But again, their evolution now as a group, I think it's been really, really cool to see. As a young head coach, I made a lot of mistakes and was very, very controlling and very anal about every single thing. And I've learned to delegate a lot better and can afford to because I have two incredibly qualified full-time members of staff that have been with us now, like you said, for that amount of time. So, you know, it's great. This time, probably 4 years ago, I wouldn't have had time for this because I'd be working on the set piece scout of the opponent that we do tomorrow. And I don't do that anymore because Andy can do a better job than I can with it. Similarly, small details on set pieces, the preparation of the goalkeepers, and some of the additional work that Nick provides them going into games and how we scout our opponents. Having the capacity to have them with me as long as I have, we're a pretty well-oiled machine, I'd like to think. And then, you know, I have to give a special mention to Nolan Sheldon, our technical director, who's now coming into year 3 with us, being able to add someone with his resume, his qualifications, and I think be reassured that what we have been doing this entire time aligns with his experiences in the professional game, but then to have him in a way that has supplemented the quality of products, created a greater efficiencies in how we operate day to day, and therefore improves our capacity to give feedback to the players. I'm so happy with what we have with this group of staff. And I do feel as though it shows up in ways every day where the players feel that, sense that, and have an understanding of, you know, how well we work together, how much we enjoy each other's company, which is another huge piece. And again, they know me so well. They know what I'm like when we lose. They know what I'm like when we win. And hopefully neither one of those is too bad to manage and negotiate. But again, it's a fantastic staff that I feel incredibly fortunate to have been in a position to work with as long as I have.
Justin, you have another question?
Yeah, Coach. One quick one for me. Obviously, there was great enthusiasm created over the summer from the World Cup. I'm just kind of wondering, can college soccer sort of kind of latch on and carry on that kind of enthusiasm? Does that create any kind of difference for this season? And just, what was your experiences from the World Cup? What was your takeaway from it?
Well, I love the time zone it was in, that's for sure. So
Yeah.
that was an advantage for me being here in America. No, I honestly I thought the World Cup was fantastic. I was probably a doubter when I saw that they'd increased the field from 32 to 48, but I actually thought, you know, the likes of a Cabo Verde, those kind of underdog stories that
Yeah.
that developed from it was really, really cool. The momentum and the attention and excitement that gathered around the US national team was amazing. Obviously disappointing to see the nature of maybe how the tournament ended for them with a little bit of a flatter, underwhelming performance. But overall, I thought it was a fantastic World Cup. And yes, I really do feel as though there's an opportunity for us to kind of cash in perhaps on
Yeah.
fan interest, fan engagement. We've had our marketing team in here. We've met with the head of the Maniacs. Some of what you saw this summer in terms of fan engagement, chants, different things that you saw from these various countries. I want a West Virginia version of everything, and then to tie into that, when you hear Country Roads after every US national team game, but I heard Scottish fans singing it. I heard it played after a Spanish game. To tie that back to WVU the way that it was, I think is really, really special as well.
Thank you, Coach.
Nick, back to you.
So, Dan, the ruling on 5-for-5 eligibility, how does that potentially, have you had conversations with your current guys about how that could change their future? And does it potentially complicate international recruiting since things work a little bit differently for a lot of those guys?
It means we're going to take the year off from recruiting. So, it was a unique ruling and a really interesting situation that we found ourselves in. We essentially graduate one player. Sebastian Burke is the only one that didn't, I guess, get a favorable ruling for additional years of eligibility. Pablo Pozos has another year. Thankfully, now with Tice's injury, he has another year. So what was already going to be a relatively small senior graduating class, I think it was maybe four or five, has shrank to one. So it has a huge impact on our plans for 2027. There are more 2028s written on our board right now than there are 27s, just because of the availability of roster spots. As far as the international piece, I actually think it will simplify the process for our internationals. There'll be more incidences, arguably, of players with a double gap year, conceivably still being able to come to college and finish their degree in time. And again, I think once this is we've got to this place where everyone is aligning to this rule and this standard, I do think it was a good decision and will simplify things.
Dan, is the maybe not the rule, but the expectation for international guys is that it's going to be based on their 19th birthday, that's when the 5-and-5 would start for them?
Correct. Their first opportunity to compete in a full sport based on their 19th birthday. So again, depending on how that falls for the individual, you could conceivably be out of high school for 2 years before that clock even starts. So I don't know that they have necessarily reduced the age of college soccer, because I think there was a growing concern that there were older internationals and it was kind of losing a bit of its authenticity. This, I think, like I said, I do think overall it simplifies things. What'll be interesting is how we create, academic pathways over a 5-year process, right? Because now we're talking about keeping a player here throughout their undergraduate and a master's opportunity as well. That's one caveat that we need to kind of consider. And again, not that we haven't had more than enough graduate school students, but now you're looking at the potential of having your entire squad matriculate into graduate school. So what programs we offer, how many of them are in seat for the internationals is a huge, huge piece. So there are if there are complications, it's probably on the back end, I would argue, whether international or domestic, on what year 5 looks like. Yeah, making sure that we're in a position where we're still making a really compelling argument to our graduating undergraduate seniors as to why they should stay at West Virginia for that final year, when arguably that's when they're the most experienced, the most qualified, and perhaps the most effective for us on the field. So I think there's an important aspect of tying in the academic pathway for them as early as possible in the process, and as I said, making a compelling argument as to how we re-recruit our players and make sure that they feel engaged and as productive as possible with their academic endeavors.
Also, Dan, we've talked a lot about some newcomers to your team, but the midfield's got a ton of returning experience. You mentioned Nacho and Isaac Shear, both of them preseason All Sun Belt. How confident are you with the continuity in the midfield, specifically with those two guys?
Yeah, love them to bits. both in our, both members of our leadership group within the squad. And again, I think what they have shown in a short amount of time with Isaac, obviously technically now still with 3 years of eligibility. Nacho, I believe, still with 2. Again, that continuity for years to come. I think Tyler Zapata's had a fantastic preseason with us as well. So we've been really, really pleased with his progression from year 1 to where we are today. And then I think there are others. I think there are others in that group, new players that have joined us in January that will support those positions and add really, really good depth for us as well. But yeah, I think you've named 2 players that are almost always in our top 5 first names on the team sheet. So to have them in there controlling that space, I think is going to be really, really important for us this year.
Nick, do you have any more questions? You want to do it after?
My bad. I forgot to lower my hand. Sorry.
If that's good. Then thanks for joining us. We'll first game's on the road this week at Charlotte, but we'll be home next Monday against St. Bonaventure. Dan, if you just don't mind